Security guard stories that'll give you the creeps.
True stories from Reddit.
When I was working as a regular security guard at my first gig, they stuck me on night shifts. My job was basically to walk around the building, inside and out, and keep an eye on the security cameras. The night cameras give you pretty clear footage, so I finished my outside patrol around 3 a.m., went back inside, and checked one of the cameras that was pointed at this really dark corner of the building. That's when I saw this dude just standing there, staring straight into the camera. He wasn't doing anything, just standing there all alone. I couldn't make out his face because of the crappy image quality, but he was completely still. Didn't move even a millimeter. Since he hadn't actually done anything sketchy yet, I couldn't call the cops, so I decided to check the recordings to see when this guy showed up. Turns out, he jumped out of some bushes right after the camera caught me doing my outside patrol. According to the footage, he started following me at first, but when I disappeared from view, he just stopped, stared at the camera, and stood there until I got back to the control room. When I switched off the monitors and went back to check the camera feed, he was gone. I didn't leave that building for the rest of my shift until sunrise. This wasn't on camera, but still scared the hell out of me. When I was 17, I worked security for this 12-story building in Dallas. The whole place was under surveillance, and I had to check different offices from time to time. One night around 3 a.m., when there was nobody in the building except me, I was walking through this office I rarely visited. I went into this corner room just to look around, mainly to check the window and look at the parking lot. I usually didn't turn on lights during inspections, just used my flashlight from time to time. So I spent a few seconds checking out the parking lot, then turned around to leave the office. That's when I saw the supply closet. The door handle was missing, and through that hole, an eye was staring right at me. After half the hair on my head turned gray from fear and my heart nearly stopped, I realized that some asshole manager had stuck a poster on the other side of the door so you could see this eye through the hole. I still hate that guy for it.
Let me spill a professional secret. If you're an attractive woman working in an office building with keycard access and security, chances are the male guards know you by name and probably came up with nicknames for you. And yeah, they're definitely watching you on the cameras. As for something I'll never forget, I work security for an office building, and I've seen women pee on our property twice. One was completely wasted and decided to squat in the bushes in the middle of the night. The other one stopped by the entrance to our parking lot, got out of her car right under a surveillance camera, and did her business for about 90 seconds in broad daylight.
I work night shift at a hotel and have to watch the security monitors, among other duties. This hotel isn't even that old, but it's got some weird stuff going on. Camera 14 used to freak me out because there are always these shadows, even though you couldn't see anyone or anything near the camera. Then I figured out it was just moths. It's an outdoor camera, and I'm an idiot. But for the last 2 months, we've been having problems with camera 3. It's in the pool area. Usually I barely pay attention to it because the pool's always closed until almost the end of my shift. But since the monitor shows all cameras, it's in my field of vision. About 2 months ago, I went to the pool to sweep and mop the floor. Something was definitely off about the room, but I couldn't figure out what. I thought it was just because I was tired. I get a bit paranoid when I'm exhausted, but this time I tried to finish up in the pool area as fast as possible. When I got back to the control room to hang up the keys, I looked at the monitor and saw that camera 3 was off. Completely off. That section of the screen was bright blue, which means the camera's disconnected. They fixed camera 3 a month ago, but that room still creeps me out. 2 weeks ago, I was scanning all the camera feeds when I noticed some movement on camera 3. I stared at the screen, and after a while, I saw this dark entity, I can't describe it any other way, moving around the room. I heard this really loud door slam, then saw on the monitor that the entity moved toward the water and kind of dissolved. There's this cat that hangs around outside our hotel. He's a good cat, loves attention. But for the last 2 months, he wouldn't let me go toward the pool area. He'd run ahead of me and grab onto my pants, clearly not wanting me going that way. When we got near the pool, he'd start hissing. 2 nights ago, I heard that pool door slam again. This time there wasn't any shadow on the monitor, but there was an eye. Then the camera shut off again. That morning when I went to add bromine to the pool, the bromine container literally exploded. This is clearly a very strange place.
I worked as a manager at a tobacco shop about 10 years ago. This homeless-looking customer started coming in. He usually bought a couple packs of cigarettes. It was winter, and I put a table and chairs in the shop since it was one of the few places where smoking was loud. He was a pretty decent guy. About a week after he started coming around, he was sitting at the table smoking when another customer walked in and started insulting and humiliating the homeless dude. I ended up having to kick the asshole out of the store. A couple weeks later, he came into the shop and silently stood about 2 feet from the counter where I was working. We stared at each other for about a minute, and I finally asked, "Can I help you with something?" He took 1 pack of red cigarettes and left. I suspected something was wrong and decided to check the camera footage. The camera that was positioned away from the counter showed that he was standing in front of me with a revolver in his hand that I couldn't see. The cops showed up soon after. I filed a report, they took the recording, and I don't think it led to anything. I quit shortly after that since the pace sucked anyway.
I'm not security, but I work at a restaurant and we obviously have cameras. A few weeks ago, the manager and I were cleaning up the kitchen at the end of the day. After we finished, we went to her office to deal with paperwork. She has a monitor in her office that shows the security camera feeds. I was looking at them and noticed this black figure that appeared from around a corner. I called the manager over to look too, and we both stood there pale as ghosts, watching and waiting for this figure to move. After about 15 seconds or so, this thing got smaller and disappeared. We waited a few minutes and left together. It was so creepy.
I currently work night shift security at a data center. Pretty quiet, easy job. One night, I was sitting at the desk in front of the monitor. Normal shift, nothing happening. I'd glance at the cameras from time to time when suddenly something caught my attention. I looked up and saw a frozen image of a little girl in one of the dark hallways in the back part of the building. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. Even said out loud, "No way, this can't be real." I realized I could just rewind the footage. I rewound it and saw that one of the employees had brought his daughter, but I hadn't seen it on the monitor. I took a deep breath. Another funny incident. Once they installed a new camera, and the face of the guy who mounted it got stuck on the image. It stayed on the monitor all day until they rebooted the camera. It was pretty hilarious.
I worked security for 2 years while I was in college. We guarded this building where a bunch of rich snobs lived. Apartments cost anywhere from $500,000 to $6 million. One day when I was monitoring the cameras, I noticed this woman who couldn't get out of the parking garage. She was trying to stick her pass into the machine, but stopped too far away to reach it. So she opened her door to get closer. While she was getting out, her hand got caught in the seatbelt, and the car suddenly started rolling slowly forward. The funniest part was when she finally freed her hand, she tried to stop the SUV by grabbing onto its door, but it didn't work. The car went through the barrier and crashed into the wall while she was being dragged behind it. Over the next few weeks, we showed the video to all the staff until management found out we were making fun of one of the residents and took it away from us.
I work security for a pretty big bank with lots of branches all over Europe. I can log into the system to look at any camera in any of our branches, ATMs, or safe deposit facilities. One day, we got an alarm signal from one of our branches. I sent a guard to check it out. The guard got there, didn't find anything unusual, and just reset the alarm. Probably lazy. He didn't even record the sensor number. 10 minutes later, another alarm went off from one of the safes in that branch. I connected to the camera and saw that there was a light on in the safe and pieces of plaster on the floor. We contacted the police. Through the camera, I saw that there was a burglar inside. He'd come in through the roof wearing a ski mask, triggered the first alarm, sprayed the detector with paint, then went back to the roof and waited for security to reset the sensor. His mistake was touching one of the safes with his hand. When that alarm went off, he had to bail. They never caught him. Way more interesting than the usual credit card fraud and cash theft.
Thanks for watching.
Subscribe to True Stories from Reddit and smash that notification bell so you never miss these mind-blowing stories. See you in the next one.